Let's get further reaction from the Biden administration to the latest jobs report. Joining us from Washington, D.C. is Acting Labor Secretary Julie Su. Nice to have you. A strong report, as we've been saying, although perhaps some signs of at least a weakening economy. I'm curious to get your take, particularly given a great deal of the jobs were added in both government, education, and healthcare. Travel and leisure, for example, seem to abate a bit in terms of its addition of workers.
Yeah, we saw growth in construction as well. Again, these are signs of a strong economy and a historic economic recovery. The 206,000 jobs created brings the total now since President Biden came into office to nearly 16 million. None of this was promised. None of this was inevitable. They are the result of leadership and economic policies that include a plan to invest in America and America's workers. And again, we are seeing the impact of that month after month. And the unemployment rate remains at really historic lows. We did see a slight uptick in prime age workforce participation. That often can be associated with slightly higher unemployment rates also. That's people in the labor market looking for jobs. We're seeing that it's taking a little bit longer for people to get those jobs, but that's why the work that we are doing to ensure that there is a clear pathway for everybody to get a good job in their community remains so important.
Yeah, you mentioned, of course, that we're now 4.1% in terms of the unemployment rate, the highest we have been since November of 2021. So that is a bit of time ago. You mentioned the participation rate going up. So is it a concern for you at all? I mean, obviously, most economies, we would be happy with 4.1%, but it is up from where we had been in terms of historic lows recently.
I mean, exactly to your point about most economies, right? We had an unemployment rate at or below 4% for the longest stretch since Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon. And now it's ticked up slightly to 4.1%. And as you said, this is still a really historically low number. By comparison, let's just remember, on this day in 2020, during the last administration, the unemployment rate was nearly 12%. And so we've come roaring back from that time period. And most people, celebrated July 4th. I'm here in D.C. seeing people, get together with their families, come outside. In 2020, people were told to stay home and stay away from everybody. So this is the kind of economic recovery that is only possible when there is wisdom, experience, leadership, and real investments, which is what we've done and what we'll continue to do.
That said, economists have been pointing to the fact that today's report technically triggers the SOM rule, which says that the economy is entering a recession if the 3-month moving average of the unemployment rate rises 50 basis points above the trough. Do you see any evidence that a recession may be around the corner?
I don't. And we have been, hearing about potential recession pretty much since 2021, and that has never come to pass. I would say that based on the numbers we've seen, not just this last month, but that I come here every month to talk about, if this isn't a soft landing, I don't know what is.
I guess the counter to that might be that it almost always looks like a soft landing until it becomes something a little bit worse than that. So, what would you hope to do to try and ensure that it doesn't happen? And honestly, in terms of even practical, sort of policies, it feels as if the policies from the administration are kind of in place and not necessarily in train.
That is the right question. So let's look ahead, right? What the president has always said and always known and helped make possible is historic investments in our country's infrastructure, in fixing hundreds of thousands of miles of roads, of bridges, of ensuring that every family has clean drinking water when they turn on the faucet, of putting high-speed internet into every single community. Those are the kinds of investments that we are delivering on every single day. But the reversal of decades-long disinvestment in American industry, in American jobs, in American workers, it doesn't happen overnight. So the fact that we've had these numbers now for as long as we've had is a sign that the president's economic strategy is the right one. We are on the right track. But we do have more work to do. And the good thing is we have a plan, we have investments in place, and we're going to keep at it.
President Biden is trailing significantly in the polls to his rival, former President Trump. Now, there could be any number of reasons for that, but certainly perhaps his failure to successfully articulate what you are saying, which is that there has been a historic addition of jobs, could be contributing to that. Is it a frustration for you in the administration that perhaps you're not getting the credit at least you believe you deserve?
I mean, the president talks about this all the time. He has said from day one, the way to build a strong economy is to invest in America's workers, is to create American jobs. And these jobs numbers reveal time and time again just how solid that economic strategy is. If your question is what I'm concerned about, I have the same concerns that the president has, whether workers are getting a fair share, how to combat the massive gap between CEO pay and frontline worker pay, where CEOs make in a week what their workers have to work years to make, making sure that we are cutting the cost of prescription drugs, making sure that student loan debt is forgiven so people can look toward their future with hope, ensuring retirement security so American workers can retire with security, saving pension funds, giving workers a raise. Just this past week, over 1 million workers became eligible for overtime because of this president's policies. And so I don't think it could be clearer what we stand for and what we're trying to do. And we know that the work is not done, and that's why we're so focused on doing the work.